Hi, welcome. And today I'm with the wonderful Kathy Blocky, who is the inventor of the Numa Pro. She is going to walk us through the advantages, disadvantages of starting, not starting your young flutist off on multiple octave exercises. And so today she's going to walk you through why us as studio teachers and as band directors, why we should consider implementing multiple octaves within their curriculum from day one or in, in an appropriate time span. So welcome, Kathy, and let's talk about multiple octaves and why, like I said, why we should start our kiddos off with these wonderful exercises.
Well, it seems like all the band directors are so eager to get these harmonic exercises, and for kids who've been playing for a while, and even flute teachers, they love doing that. But the important thing is, I find that they're difficult for students that haven't started that way. And I think it's so important to understand that flute players, the beginning flute players, are so different than like a beginning trumpet player. I mean, whenever if you've taught beginners, you've seen that they're all over the place when they begin. They're in the high octave, they're in the low octave, especially on that head joint. It's all mixed up. And I often ask band directors, how often do your beginning trumpet players hit a double high C, or and it just doesn't happen. And a clarinet crossing the break, it doesn't happen except for those squeaks, but which don't count. So flute is completely different, but if you don't take advantage of that right away, the kids get set into one embouchure, and then it becomes difficult. Where a beginning, even like a 6, 7-year-old, finds it really easy to move between octaves when we teach them right away. But so for quite a while, I've been mainly just teaching kids that I've began teaching. In the past, years ago, I would often get kids who had played for a year and had that problem that they were kind of stuck, and it took a lot of effort to get them out of being stuck. It just reminded me, I started a little girl who had played since September, and she was stuck. So we had to go back to the head joint, and she needed to learn how to change between the octaves, and she's getting it, but it's a lot of effort. And if I weren't a confident teacher, I think, oh, she can't do this. Whereas beginners, it's the easiest thing in the world, especially when we give them really fun exercises to do, like our new Kookaburra piece in Flute Zoo, that all the kids love it. I've never had a kid not do it. And they're playing all over the place just because they're making fun sounds.
That's great. So what I'm hearing is that you want to lay out a great foundation for the young flute student right off from the get-go. And I'm also hearing that it could be detrimental for their growth as a flutist if you don't give them the right exercises to further their progress. So what is the downside of not implementing multiple octaves within their practice routine in the early stages?
I really think they get stuck. Whenever band directors hear my young ensembles, in fact, the kids were playing at PMEA. This is obviously not this last year, but I had a band director say, I closed my eyes, and he said, I thought that sounded great, for the Penn State Flute Choir. It was amazing, but I looked up, and there's these 9, 10, 11-year-old kids playing. And the reason they could play in tune is because they had that flexibility to do that. So not only are we teaching them to listen to that, but if you can hear that it's out of tune and you don't have the flexibility to change that, then it's not going to happen. So it's not like you can't teach that once they've been starting in that lower octaves or those first five notes for a long time, but it's infinitely easier if they begin from the beginning that way.
Great. So with these octave exercises, multiple octave exercises, you've touched on it, but can we dive more into the benefits? So intonation, tone, and if you have that flexibility of embouchure, can you list what those other pros are um, by approaching it this way?
Yes, the tone is a huge part of it. The, having that flexibility to move between octaves is just going to elevate their ability to play with a gorgeous tone.
Mm.
So, and when we're talking about multiple octaves, we're not talking just about overblowing
Mm-hmm.
or rolling in and getting a tight embouchure. We're teaching them actually, you know, how to change and what needs to be done. Um, our Great Beginnings DVD shows very clearly how to do these different embouchures right from the beginning. And students that haven't started that way need to relearn it. I
Right.
I remember a band director saying, "My kids are having a hard time getting to that G, the G right up above the staff." And I'm thinking, "Oh,
Oh,
that's my my kids." Even the 5 6 year olds, we have them playing with harmonics so that they're playing the majority of their range of the flute with ease. They don't even know it's hard. And so it's also important to start them on notes. Like if you have a G, A, B, or B flat, you can be playing in multiple octaves or a C without changing the fingering. It's very easy.
mm,
You say, okay, first time play it in the low octave, second time play it in the high octave. And by the time we're getting to that C to D finger change, I just teach them the high fingering. So when they do it in the high octave, they know to just change the fingering. But
mm.
the advantage, I just, it's unbelievable the difference between you starting a child this way after a year where they're at, um, and how much they're going to enjoy flute playing because they have this beautiful freedom to express themselves. It just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing that I pulled from that too is you encouraging them through these exercises, from the early stages of this is how easy it is, to go from low to high and then not focusing on, oh, now we're going to play the hard octave. Because
Right.
if you get that in their mindset, then as they see those ledger lines older in life, as the repertoire gets harder, they really force and push. But if from the early stages, if they're just, oh yeah, this is just what we do,
Yes.
it becomes secondhand.
It's so easy for the if you start them in the multiple octaves and with these fun exercises, the the high range is a piece of cake.
Nice. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So if I'm a band director or a flute studio teacher and this has caught my interest, what
Yes.
are some resources or tools that I can implement today in my studio or classroom?
So I first really encourage you to watch the DVD, The Great Beginnings with the Numa Pro, and then even the most advanced kids. Um, well, Galway, when he started with Jeffrey Gilbert, he had to go back to the head joint, and from what I understand, he hated doing it. But I'm guessing that he had to do those flexibility exercises that are in the beginning of the Blocky Flute book,
Mm.
and the Flute Sue book. The Flute Sue book has great accompaniment tracks to it that make it super fun. So they're imitating different bird sounds, and the kids love the kookaburra one. And it's also that one you can have the background playing, and even if you're online, and everybody can be playing at once because it's kind of like a big bird symphony.
Yeah, my students in my studio, since I use the blocky flute books, they really do light up. Their little faces and their eyes just get so enthralled with the exercises. And so it is a lot of fun for them and for me to participate and to use those exercises.
Yeah. So once they can do on the head joint, then they can play the Mary Had a Little Lamb we have. And there's two different versions of it. But so here, they don't, they're just moving two fingers. So so and the kids, they love it because they sound so advanced. They think, wow, that sounds really cool. Like I've been playing a long time. So of course they begin slower when they're doing that. But again, we're only moving two fingers, so we're really concentrating on the embouchure. And I've yet to have a student who has not been able to play that and have not loved playing it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and sharing with us all of these wonderful exercises, your book, your DVD, the Numo Pro, and the advantages and disadvantages of not starting your flute student with multiple octave exercises. So, yes, thank you.